Hello to all you people out there, you Kingdom Hearts fans. This is episode 22 of my review, continuing my overall review of Kingdom Hearts and preparation for Kingdom Hearts 3, which is rumored and said to be the end of the overall Xehanort series itself. With that said, get ready to test your might, step foot into a castle, and back into the past. This episode we're actually going to be looking at three worlds: the Olympus Coliseum, Disney Castle, and Timeless River. As the theme song you just heard implies, Sora and the gang doesn't necessarily land in the Olympus Coliseum, but rather land in the underworld, which is where you will start off your journey here. One thing you will notice when you first land in the underworld is that your drive gauge is locked, and it will stay locked until you retrieve the Olympus Stone, which will be a little later on. But when you get there, you'll immediately fight some Heartless away from Megara, who is Hercules' unofficial girlfriend. It seems that Meg was on her way to see Hades to get him to loosen up on the baddies that he sends up to Hercules. As if Hades would do that. For real. Seriously. We're talking about the Lord of the Dead here. Sora opts to go in her place. And as they get to Hades' lair, of course, Hades summons up Orn from the dead and tries to get him to join the cause of killing Hercules. And Orn's response is, "This is my story, and you're not part of it." Well, shortly after Sora joins Orn and the entire team escapes, you then venture up to the actual Olympus Coliseum itself and meet up with Phil and Hercules. Unfortunately, your training with Phil is cut short when Hades comes up and announces that he has kidnapped Megara and got her lost in the underworld. Of course, Sora and the gang, along with Hercules, go down to the underworld and free Megara. However, Hades revives a downed Hydra, which Hercules defeated moments ago, and destroys the Colosseum, which in turn drains Hercules' will to fight, because he felt that he left everyone unprotected. Needless to say, Sora and the gang, along with Pegasus, Phil, and Megara, step up and finally defeat the Hydra. And with the Hydra defeated, and unfortunately the Olympus Coliseum in shambles, they actually get a reprieve in trying to get the Olympus Coliseum rebuilt. Now, although there is still a spot in the doorway of the Olympus Coliseum where you will still be able to undergo Phil's training, you won't actually see the Olympus Coliseum rebuilt until you get to the ending credits. Now, when you get to Disney Castle, Donald and Goofy automatically get the feeling that something don't feel right. And as you fight through the throng of Heartless that have suddenly materialized in Disney Castle, you find out that indeed something isn't right. While Donald and Goofy goes to warn, all the residents in Disney Castle about the danger, Sora escorts Minnie to the audience chamber. Now this is where Minnie will actually fight alongside Sora. Once you get to the audience chamber, Minnie will escort you to the Hall of the Cornerstone where the thorns are, and Sora finds out that Maleficent has revived somehow. Now, upon determining that they won't be able to find the answer to the thorns in the castle, they seek Merlin the Wizard. So what's going to happen, instead of actually leaving Disney Castle, going back to Hollow Bastion, then back to Disney Castle again, there's going to be a small cutscene where it'll look like you teleported to Hollow Bastion to get Merlin, then Merlin teleports you back. Merlin then comes up with a door that leads into a retro world. Now, once you come back through the door from being in the retro world, you will then receive the wisdom form. But for now, we're going to step through this door into the retro world on what we call Timeless River. For Donald and Goofy and King Mickey himself, it's a trip down memory lane as Sora and the gang steps through the door upon entering Timeless River. Upon their arrival in Timeless River, they run into Pete. Now, at the time, they think it's the Pete that they've been after, but after a few, they discover that the Pete that they saw first wasn't the Pete that they were going after. It's also in this world that they find out the reason behind the Thorns appearing at Disney Castle, which was a plan hatched by both Pete and Maleficent. Well, more Maleficent than Pete, considering the fact that Maleficent seemed to have banished Pete for something stupid he done, and Pete found the door first, which he told Maleficent, and that's when the two hatched the plan to try and take Disney Castle. And they thought they'd be able to do so by going back into the past. While in Timeless River, Merlin gives Sora the task of finding a door that is identical to the one that he made, Merlin anyway, and locking it with Sora's Keyblade. Now, at one point, the Pete that went back into the Timeless River era does make an attempt to try and steal the cornerstone of life. However, Sora and the gang actually stops Pete from doing so. And as Pete tries to go, and as the modern day Pete tries to go through the door, the Timeless River Pete stops him, though the Timeless River Pete seems to be outmatched, Sora and the gang comes and evens the odds and defeats the modern day Pete. Modern day Pete escapes through the door that he's been using, and Sora seals it. As a token of his gratitude, the Timeless River Pete lets them pilot his boat. Speaking of boats, speaking of boats, we're gonna climb aboard the Black Pearl in the next episode of my review. So, see ya.